It was a rain-soaked Tuesday morning in Portland, Oregon, the kind of morning where the sky presses low against the city, a muted gray ceiling heavy with unspoken stories. Windshield wipers beat like anxious metronomes, and puddles shimmered under streetlights still blinking from the night before. Station 17's ambulance was pushing hard through the slick traffic, sirens slicing through the damp air, every second edged with urgency. Inside the ambulance, Lisa adjusted her gloves. She'd been an EMT for 8 years, long enough to know the difference between an ordinary call and one that lingers with you. This one already felt different. A cardiac emergency on the outskirts of town, rural roads, bad reception, and worse weather. Her partner Jake muttered under his breath as he swerved around a stalled sedan. The route was clear until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, the ambulance jolted as Jake slammed the brakes. Standing squarely in the middle of the road was a dog. Not just any dog. A large white shepherd mix, completely soaked, fur clinging to its body, eyes locked onto them with eerie stillness. It didn't flinch, didn't move. It simply stood there, like it had been waiting for this moment. Jake honked the horn once, then again. Nothing. Lisa leaned forward. Something about the dog's posture sent a chill down her spine. It wasn't confused or panicked. It was intentional, focused. "I'm going out," Lisa said, unbuckling. "Something's off." Jake protested, but she was already stepping into the downpour. Her boots splashed in the shallow water as she approached slowly, hands low, voice gentle. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" The dog didn't bark or growl. It backed up 2 cautious steps, then sat down, watching her, waiting. Lisa tried to guide it off the road, walking a few feet away to coax it. The dog followed, only to circle back the moment she returned to the vehicle. That's when it hit her. "This dog isn't lost," she said aloud. "He's trying to lead us." There was no logic to it, no protocol, but something in the dog's eyes, so human, so urgent, made her trust her gut. She crouched down again. The dog held her gaze, then turned and trotted into the woods. Without hesitation, Lisa followed. Down a muddy embankment, branches whipping against her jacket, the rain turning the earth to slick clay. Her radio crackled uselessly as she slipped and caught herself on a moss-covered stump. The dog waited at the bottom of the slope, glancing back before darting forward again. Then she saw him. A man, crumpled beneath a patch of evergreens. Late 60s or early 70s, pale as ash, one arm twisted unnaturally, mouth slightly open. He was barely breathing. "Jake!" she screamed, her voice slicing through the trees. "Call it in, now!" The dog circled them anxiously, whimpering, nudging Lisa's arm as if urging her to hurry. Together, they stabilized the man, George Miller, as they would soon learn, and lifted him onto the stretcher. As they carried him back up, the dog tried to climb into the ambulance. Lisa hesitated for only a second before opening the back doors wider. "Come on," she said softly, and the dog curled up right at George's feet, as if he had always belonged there. At the hospital, time moved in controlled chaos. Doctors confirmed it. A massive stroke. Had they arrived even 20 minutes later, George might not have survived. While he was rushed into intensive care, Lisa stayed behind just long enough to watch the dog pace outside the ER doors. The rain continued to fall, but the dog stayed. He refused to leave. He wouldn't eat the food that hospital staff tried to offer, wouldn't lie down unless Lisa came to visit. He curled up on the cold concrete, his eyes fixed on the sliding doors, like he understood that George was just on the other side. Staff began calling him Bailey after the name Lisa found etched on a worn leather tag hanging from his collar. The name fit. It felt old, wise, loyal. Bailey became a quiet presence at the hospital. Visitors asked about him. Nurses slipped him scraps. Someone even brought him a blanket, but he dragged it over to where Lisa stood before finally settling down. 3 days passed. George hadn't spoken. The prognosis was uncertain. Lisa made her case to hospital management. "Let the dog in," she pleaded, "just for a few minutes." Against policy, they agreed, just once. When Bailey entered the room, something shifted. The air thickened with emotion. He padded gently to the bedside and let out a soft whimper. George stirred. His lips trembled. A single tear rolled down his cheek. "Bailey," he whispered. It was the first word he'd said. The room fell silent, then erupted. Lisa's eyes welled. A nurse gasped. Bailey placed his head gently on the edge of the bed. From that moment, George's recovery began to accelerate. Slowly at first, eye contact, a stronger grip, a soft smile. Then more. He began speaking again, eating, asking for Bailey. Lisa visited often. Bailey greeted her like an old friend, resting his head in her lap. On one visit, George managed a full sentence. "He never left me," he said. Not once. George's wife, Margaret, arrived the next day. She had been searching since George went missing during a morning walk. The story unfolded. George had collapsed in the woods. Bailey had stayed with him through the night, refusing to abandon him, even as the cold set in. Then, at sunrise, Bailey left, not to run away, but to find help. When George was finally discharged, Lisa came to say goodbye. Margaret had come earlier to take Bailey home, but hours later, the dog had returned. Back to the hospital, back to his post. That night, Bailey slept outside once more. Only when George stepped outside the following morning did Bailey stand. His tail wagged once, twice. Then he walked forward and gently pressed his head into George's chest. Some stories remind us that loyalty doesn't need words, that love can cross the barrier between species, that sometimes the bond we share with an animal can be the thread that pulls us back from the edge. Bailey didn't just stop traffic. He saved a life. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a little light today. Subscribe for more incredible tales of loyalty, love, and the animals who teach us what it means to be truly human. And don't miss the next story, because sometimes the next miracle is just one heartbeat away.